into the whole industry of like adult films. Was it what you expected doing your first scene? He had me doing moonsaults off the top rope.
Oh my God.
I have implants.
I feel like I know him from somewhere. Why?
Why not?
I mean, I thought about it for a long while before I did it. I mean, I got a lot of uproar from the whole industry, but who are they to judge me?
Yeah, I mean, what are they?
They can all go to hell. They don't pay my bills.
No, you got a point.
And that's that.
Hi, welcome to a brand new week of Crazy Train with me, Jasmine St. Clair. I am so excited. It's not Crazy Train, duh. It is like off the rails. I'm trying this like brand new background. I don't know how it's working out, if you guys are even seeing it from your end, but tonight I have a very special guest. Oh, God, what a day, eh? You're probably wondering, hey, Scott, how are you? I'm like amped up on Arctic snow. Hey, Paul. I'm getting ready for two really amazing wrestling shows, one in Salt Lake City, Utah for Devotion Championship Wrestling, and then Phoenix, Arizona for Phoenix Championship Wrestling on May 18th. So I'm super, super excited for that. And thank you for joining me. Next week's guest on Off the Rails will be Marcella Alonso. And also tonight we have Vic Lagina. So, because I know like everyone likes him and he always has that guy's perspective on things. So he has something he wants to talk about, something with Brazzers. I know everyone knows about Brazzers, but then he also has something else he wants to discuss with me. Like we want to talk about dating adult film stars, because I think it's this taboo topic that some people talk about and then they don't talk about it. Because it's really a touchy topic. I was just speaking to my friend Veronica Kane about this a few minutes ago. And you get some of these guys that are like emotional babies who don't know what to do and how to handle it. You know, speaking of dating adult film stars, if you are looking to spice it up in the bedroom, make sure you go to adamandeve.com. That's right. You go to adamandeve.com and, go ahead and put in the code Crazy Train. That's crazy with a K, Crazy Train, and get up to 50% off on select items and a bunch of other really cool items as well for free. So you could use that in the bedroom, in the tool shack, or whatever you do. As you know, this is my relaxed night off the rails because this is the live stream. Last week we had Missy Hyatt on, and I want to thank everyone for doing all the restreams and looking at this. Make sure to send likes, super likes, subscribe, whatever you'd like, because I have a lot more content coming out this week and the following weeks. I took a couple weeks off from just podcasting my other, my main podcast, Crazy Train with Jasmine St. Clair, just because I was busy traveling and doing some moving and stuff like that. But this Wednesday, I have the great Akira on there. Hi, Veronica. Hey, sweetheart. And Veronica is actually, Veronica Avlov is someone that will be on Crazy Train podcast very soon. As a matter of fact, my producer was just texting me with dates. Okay, he's got to do some confirmations for next month, Veronica, but we're going to have you on sometime in May, early May, which I think is great. So Veronica, I know a lot of people were requesting her. Hey, John, how are you? As you know, my coworker and really dear friend, Necro Butcher, was in Japan wrestling. He is a cancer survivor and a complete warrior, but now he is in Japan in the hospital with an exploded hip and some other things, that need some repairing. It will not be a speedy recovery. So I know people are thinking, hey, Kayleen, how are you? A lot of people think it's going to be this big speedy recovery. It's not. I think it's kind of good in a way if he recovers there, because they have a much better healthcare system in Japan. So I put up a GoFundMe. If you go to my Twitter page, it's a GoFundMe for Necro Butcher. Anything can help. And we just started putting up a t-shirt where proceeds of the sales go to him. As of now, I was able to get him a little translator bubble with some of the funds from that, and a used Android tablet for like $100 and something. So he has that, because you're not allowed to visit people in the hospital in Japan. I don't get what that's about. Like, seriously. Ladies on here, Veronica, I figure like when you it's kind of hard for two people to date one another in porn. Like if two people are involved in it simultaneously. Hey Jamal, how are you? Mwah. Um, I think if you date a porn star that's actively doing it, it's kind of a tough thing, a hard thing, no pun intended, by the way. Whereas if you just date someone that's also in the business, I know I personally had the experience of dating another male performer while I was doing porn. I have to say, oh my God. Hey, baby. Okay, thank you, Paul. So it's like, it was really weird because if it's someone else that's in the business, so you got to have these rules where if it's off camera, that is cheating, right? Because that's like your personal time. If you're on camera, that is not cheating, that is work. But then you have these little weird gray areas of like, fuck, well, what if he keeps like touching the girl? Or what if they keep touching each other and kissing each other and all this stuff? And so, it doesn't work out that way. So you can't, it's a weird industry for two people in a normal monogamous relationship to be in. I think the only way it works out is if one is in the business and one's not in the business. When I was dating the drummer from Slayer, he was really cool. It was this guy, Paul Bostaff, really fucking amazing person. I'll get to that in a bit. Like, I like to date interesting people. That's why a lot of my relationships, people always wonder, how are you single? Well, my relationships don't last very long because I like interesting people. And, to keep up with interesting with me is a whole other thing. So Paul Bostaff, yeah, I was still actively doing adult films while I was dating him. And I think he kind of understood the whole thing, sort of. I don't know. But then I left him for some indie wrestler who was married. So, yeah. So anyway, that was a long time ago. But anyway, moving right along, not all people in adult are like, home wreckers or stuff like that. Not that that's what I was aiming to do, but it's definitely a weird thing when you have people that don't understand the business and all that other stuff. But it's really, it's interesting. That's all I got to say. When I dated the guy that I did date who was in the business. Hi, Ian. Ian's from Australia, by the way, everyone. Hold on. I'm just getting a message about Necro Butcher right now. Have the American consulate. What the fuck? On my live stream. All right. So this is like a Necro Butcher thing. So anyway, we're trying to move Necro Butcher's stuff out of his apartment. And the landlord won't let him do that because he's in Japan. So now this is another thing. I'll just deal with it after. It's like so much going on having this. Like, what kind of a fucking landlord doesn't allow your tenant is in Japan in a hospital, right? Getting surgery for a hip. And you won't let the friends come in and move the stuff out. Okay, fine. So what do we need to do? Do we have to get the American consulate involved? Do we have to get an email from him? So that's the next, that's like where we're at with this right now. Hold on, get her email. Yeah, it's weird how they do everything in Japan. You can't, have I ever been out with a guy in his 20s or 30s? Of course, yeah. I mean, what kind of a question is that? Those are the kind of guys you use for one thing and one thing alone, Mr. New Austin Powers. But yeah, serious relationships. I only date guys like from the ages of 40 to 60 something, 62, and someone who usually has a fucking pulse. Like seriously, I've never gone out with anyone who doesn't have a pulse. Well, or was barely hanging on by a thread for life. Anyway, my my friend for the evening is here who we love, which is great. Here we go.
Hello.
Yo, how you doing? Why do you have to look hot all the time? Stop fucking being hot.
Like, did I just get out of the shower looking like this? No, clothes. It's what? It's 90 degrees out here.
Put some clothes on.
Degrees.
Put some clothes
90
on.
degrees.
Put some clothes on. Put some clothes on.
I'll be sweating. I'll be sweating. So,
how
are you?
Really?
Yeah.
I like sweat.
Uh-huh. What's happening with you? How have you been?
Good. No, just a friend of mine who's a wrestler that's in Japan. He's just shattered his hip bone and now possibly his vertebrae and lumbar. There might be other things. Everyone's saying hi. And now his landlord won't let him take his stuff out of the apartment. Like, we need to move the stuff. You know, I know Veronica, he's smoking hot. Yeah, Vic is smoking hot. It's fucking disgusting, dude. Like, bro, you're disgusting, man. Like, you are fucking gross, okay? Because here's the thing. The difference of cock is I like young cock. There's no doubt about that, right? Because they can go. They could work 4 or 5 death matches and fuck the hell out of me. But you're not that age of boy toy shit.
No, those days are behind me.
It's disgusting. How are you anyway?
I'm a little worn down, actually, from the fish at the Sphere for 2 nights. I think some dirty fish wook breathe their viruses all over me, and my robust immune system is trying to fight back right now. But if I'm not as peppy as I usually am, it's the wook flu. So, but otherwise, I'm good. I'm here. What would you like to talk about?
Oh, see, there's a friendly Vic. See, even if you're not like super like cheery and friendly, you're still hot. Like, you look like you're still hot. Like, you could be an angry guy that's hot. Okay, it's totally fine. I know Veronica agrees with me. I know the ladies in the chat agree with me. So I mean it. Like, when we did your restreams, I think a lot of the people watching you on the restream, I looked at the analytics, it was a lot of women.
Oh, really?
Yeah, biological women. So I want to first talk to you about one thing you wanted to talk about that you mentioned to me about brazzers. And like, we were talking about dating before and porn, you know, civilians doing it, then people in the business. But now we got to go into another territory here. So when is it going too far?
We'll loop back to the dating, because I've got a lot to say about that. But go ahead.
Yeah, we both do, trust me. But like, even if you're an ex-porn star, it's tough. But what is it now? Like, there's someone on set. I want you to tell our listeners and our viewers what is going on, because I'm really trying to learn the difference on a set of where it becomes rape. I mean, I can and I can't, but yeah.
Well, we're going to get familiar with a word today. The word is allegedly, because a lot of what I'm going to be quoting is from an article from the Daily Mail UK, and I'm going to quote that article about this. But for those who don't know much about me, I used to work for Brazzers. The company went from being called Man Seth to Man Win to Mind Geek, and now it's called ALO, all right? Which is a fucking horrible name, ALO. Like, I thought Mind Geek sucked, but ALO just is a lot worse. So it's hard for me to call them ALO, but they own Pornhub, they own Brazzers, they own virtually, according to this article, 90% of the business. And, you know, I worked for them, and back in the day, during the Manseth times, I shot a performer that you may know named Phoenix Marie. This is something she signed for me back in 2010 when she was on the cover of Penthouse. And I shot her first scene for Brazzers. It was her, Chris Strokes. He was a male porn star with Rocks for Brains. And then a male that I can't even remember her name. Like, this is what happens. But I'll tell you this, Phoenix, and also my nemesis, that Lex Luthor motherfucker, Christian, he was the one who was saying he dated her and was convinced that me and her were definitely fucking. But we weren't. She, I mean, I'm sure she would have been interested, but I saw her more as a sisterly kind of girl. I wasn't really into her in that way. But I will say this about her is that she is a pro. She's always been a pro. I mean, she could virtually do everything. And the company has been keeping her under contract up until recently, based on this event that occurred on a set in Barcelona, apparently, with Danny D, who used to be a performer. I know Danny D very well, and I'll talk about him in a moment. But there was an incident that happened where now Phoenix is suing both Danny and ALO for $80 million. And the lawsuit was filed initially in Nevada, but apparently because of it's an international conglomerate, she had to file it in England. What happened was, and this is, I guess, the biggest message I have here, is for every Brazzers director or anyone who's working for the company. I've said it on other podcasts. I'll say it again on yours. Every producer, whether they want to believe it or not, is holding a ticking time bomb that may or may not explode. I mean, there's a chance they can get to the finish line and it doesn't explode. But an instance here where you've got two professionals, two Brazzers contract stars, and we have now an $80 million lawsuit, that just shows you, even having two professionals on set, the outcome is never certain. And this was why I was like, I think I'm done with this thing, this shit. So that's the short story. Is there anything about it in particular? Because I shared the article with you. I know you had a couple of questions, but especially when there was the lithium talk. Because lithium was...
Stop. You're saying professionals, right? In porn.
Yes.
And this is my problem that I'm having with this right here. Okay. Because I'm sorry, I'm old school and you know that. Hey,
Sure.
Hey, Fitness Ninja. My whole issue is this, is that because when I think professional, you show up on set with a heart on, you show up on set with your ass clean and your vagina, and you show up with a proper test, and you don't show up with fucking drugs. So what are the parameters for professionals now?
Well, so do I believe that Danny's dick was ready and hard? Yes, I do. Do I believe that Phoenix's butthole was ready and clean? Yes, I do. The person that had the overdose was someone named, hold on, and this is where we get into trouble here. Well, it'll come up in a minute. It was like, I think she was from Africa.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and the truth is, Zawadi is her name. Now, I would get girls like Zawadi showing up on my list from the head office in Montreal, and I would be like, who is this person? What do you know about them? And usually it was like, we don't know much. She just has a big following, and we want to capitalize on her traffic. And I'm asking, well, is she sane? Do you know these things? So the risk you have when you have someone new like this Zawadi is we just don't know what's happening. Now, there's two stories at play here, and this is where we say allegedly. According to this article, the girl overdosed on lithium. According to Phoenix Marie, the lithium was of the girlfriend of the directors. It was hers. Because of whatever reason she was taking lithium. Could have been a variety of reasons.
Whoa. Sorry, what is lithium, like, is in battery lithium? I'm sorry.
No. It's more if you've got like schizophrenia, mental illness.
Oh my God.
It's one of those. But again, according to Melissa Phoenix, she said that this Zawadi took it from the makeup artist who is Danny D's girlfriend. Now, this girl ODs. She's got to be sent to the hospital. Apparently, they're shooting this orgy in Barcelona. And what happened after that is where it gets a little nebulous. And I've got to, knowing both parties, I have to kind of infer what I think actually happens. But according to her, Danny said, you're not going anywhere. Like, she didn't want to shoot the scene. She didn't want to go on with the gangbang. According to her, Danny said, no, you have to. We have to get her story straight. And according to her, he grabbed her and threw her down onto the floor. And she's dealing with all this trauma. Now, let me talk to you about the matchup between Danny D and Phoenix Marie. Danny D is probably about 150 pounds, maybe 160 pounds, soaking wet. I mean, the boy is a dick on a stick, right? Yeah. Biggest dick I had seen in porn up until that point. Like, this was before Dread, okay? Like, this boy took his dick out, and I was flabbergasted. That's the word, flabbergasted, because it was ridiculous. But the command that this man had was ridiculous. On top of it all, like, the ejaculate that spewed every which way, sometimes hitting the wall, was nothing that I had ever seen. Yeah, you would have been miserable. You would have been like,
my hair.
I saw a top porn star, like, and I'm holding my camera with my mouth open, like, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing here? So Danny, as a performer, was gifted. It amazed me. He was able to stick that thing in women's buttholes because it was so big. But Danny, going back to the point, thin guy, hated not having sex with his pants off because it would show his skinny legs. He did the trick where he stuck it through his fly and he had sex through the fly of his pants. And that's what he did. Now, Phoenix Marie could fuck me up. Like, I would not tussle with Phoenix Marie one bit. So when I hear that he grabbed her and threw her down, I just see Phoenix Marie picking him up and throwing him through a window, like literally, because she was so big in stature that the company would like have her in small stature performers and make them like carry them and like hold them around for the weird fucking ad moments that we were always forced to do. And there was a certain point where Phoenix was like, I swear I'm going to make them pay for my massages now, because it was a whole thing. Like, she raised her premium because they wanted her to keep lifting up the small in stature male porn stars or female porn stars. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing of throwing down, I'm not saying it didn't happen, right? Because there are British guys who are scrappy. I mean, they can fight. They can fight over in the UK. So
wait, how big is Phoenix? I'm so sorry, I'm cutting you off. How tall is Phoenix Marie, and how tall is Danny? And I'm hearing that he might be British. Is he British?
He's British, yeah. He's British, a British guy. He was a male performer. Now he's a producer and male performer, which that changes the dynamic completely, because once you start wearing the producer hat, a lot more liability and sound decision making is in your corner, where you have to make sure everything is cool. And I'm not going to tell you and say here everything that I did was perfect. It wasn't. Mistakes were made, errors were made, but you kind of course correct as it goes. In an instance like that, if a chick almost OD'd, and let me tell you something, I do have a story which I talk about in Filthy, when the girl G'd out in my house. Her name was Felicia, and she was covered in oil and then slid down the wall and then passed out for an hour and a half. And our day was done. But the agent said the same thing as apparently Danny did, allegedly, in this article, which is he didn't want to call an ambulance. Because the same reason I didn't want an ambulance and an oily, greasy stripper being carted out down my driveway into an ambulance, especially when I just fucking moved here and my neighbors are already looking at me like I'm suspicious, you know? So there was all that. And after the scene, Phoenix was like, you know, I don't want to shoot the scene anymore. And according to her, and according to the article, she was forced to. Now, after that, this is where the blame gets shifted. So Phoenix experienced a personal tragedy in 2019. She lost her daughter. Her daughter died, okay? And they are using her daughter's death to say that Phoenix has been an unraveling, widowed mother that was on these drugs, and it was her drugs, and they just completely shifted the blame onto her. And according to her lawsuit, which is why she's suing, is because she's being blacklisted. And my point in all of this is that the law firm that is repping her, they use the word big porn conglomerate, porn monopoly. I have thrown these terms around on your podcast.
Yeah,
as well.
You did. That's where I've heard it.
Right, because they do own 90% of the company. And if they do want to make someone's life difficult, they certainly can. So this is where the lawsuit's happening. I mean, I've been in touch with Phoenix. She told me about all this going down back in January, but my lips were sealed. I didn't say fuck all about it. And now I'm watching this whole thing happen, and I'm really curious to see where it all goes. So, yeah, I guess really the big thing here is, can a porn conglomerate be broken up, a porn monopoly be broken up if it's an international conglomerate? You know, that's going to be the interesting things that come of this. But if her point is saying that if she doesn't want to shoot, and that the narrative has been spinning and that she has been thrown under the bus and she's being the scapegoat and all of this, I will say I believe it's plausible based on what I know. With how they operate in the past, if anyone has crossed them, if anyone has spoken badly about them, they really could, if they wanted to, blacklist you from the industry. So that's kind of the whole thing going on right now, which I don't know. I mean, this is fourth ownership. Like, third ownership was bad. And I had a glimmer of hope once this company bought MindGeek and rebranded to ALO,
Mhm.
that maybe things would have been different because they are
Mhm.
playing that in the PR side of things. We're doing better. Their whole initial name was Ethical Capital Partners. Okay, ethical.
Ethical.
Right. So my point is, okay, if this was the playbook from the third regime prior, and this is your playbook now, you haven't fixed anything. You haven't fixed the culture of this company. All you're doing is spewing a lot of hot PR mess about how you're doing better, because this lawsuit, this happening with literally one of the biggest porn stars in the industry is suing them. That just goes to show that all this PR shit is exactly that shit. So I'm kind of curious to see where all happens. I do believe that there will be subpoenas with people who were cut loose by the company, who have experienced the same thing to bolster that argument. I do believe all of that. But I guess my opinion is, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, unless you've got questions, is if ALO, okay, whoever created that name, ALO, needs to look at himself in the mirror and just say, I need to do better, because that name fucking sucks. But beyond that, the whole thing is if you're really trying to do an image cleanse, okay, the problem with the company, and I'm not really talking about the crews, because the crews have to put up with a lot of shit. If you're a director and you're not a performer of any way, you get shit on by the company. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But if you're really trying to make yourself better, I can tell you the core is rotten up there in Montreal. So if they really wanted to make a change, they've owned this company for over a year now. If they really wanted to make a change, they would gut from the inside and rebuild, because they've seen this thing operate for a year. If they don't know how it works by now, they haven't been paying attention to this large investment they purchased back in March of 2023. So I am going to say everyone needs to keep an eye on this shit, because Phoenix is scrappy. She's not going to let go on this. I think it's going to be settled, to be honest, because I don't think they want to have this on record. And they certainly don't want to subpoena me, because
Jesus Christ, no.
me with my mouth, that could bolster some claims here. So I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens. But I wanted to talk about, what do you think about all this?
I mean, so West Coast Millennial says Pornhub and Spank Bang are being censored in Texas. Kayleen is all about them, like she dares them. I met a girl when I was at WrestleCon who's married to a wrestler. She's dating him. She used to work for Pornhub for many months, right? So I'm at the bar at WrestleCon on the first night, seeing my friends, right? Some jackass comes up to me saying he wants to jack off with a Cadbury Easter egg. Okay, this is a real person. And I was talking about Easter egg candy to someone. He intrudes. I found out later on he's some poker champ that was caught jacking off under a poker table.
Oh shit! I think I heard about this. I actually got an alert on this on Twitter. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah, and of course, I'm there at the bar, and there's this hot blonde who's talking to me. Then there's some girl with a much older guy that's her sugar daddy. They met on Seeking Arrangements. And then some hot girl with dark hair that comes up to me, and she starts talking to me. Oh, yeah, I knew something was not – I knew something was spunky about her. Oh, I used to work for Pornhub. I'm like, of course you did. And these people gravitate towards me. This is great. I'd be curious to know what she meant now when she said to me – there are a lot of controversies and scandals there. And, she's very pleasing on the eye. So I'm wondering if there was more to her work in there than just behind the scenes. But this whole thing sounds like, I don't know. First of all, how big is Phoenix, did we say? No one told me how big she is. She looks like...
I mean, she's probably a couple inches shorter than me. I'm 6'3". So maybe she's 5'11".
Oh, you're the perfect height. How hot. Anyway, so let me know if let me know.
No, she's like 5'10", 5'11". I mean, she's grand in stature. And I will say this, I did see her literally 3 months ago at an AVN party for the dispensary Hardin. And I look at everyone's eyes, okay, and I could see what's going on. This is not the eyeballs of someone on lithium and fucked up. She wasn't. She was same old Phoenix Marie that I've known for 17 years now.
But go ahead.
No, so first of all, the other thing too is she never was one to do drugs.
Right.
She like, even if the smell of weed was close by, she was like, stop, whoever's smoking it, they need to stop, because she really didn't like it. Now, did she drink? Sure. But as far as being a drug taker, no, I don't believe that. And if I saw her in January and she was a fucked up mess, I would tell you, but she wasn't. She was the same person that I've known for all these years. So
Here we go. We got her stats: 5'10" and 170 pounds. Thanks, John.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, because I just think that on set they have to start doing better. Why the fuck does a makeup artist have any, like, the only time anyone gave, and I'm not a weed smoker. Years ago, Lee Garland, who was this makeup artist from the era of the 90s, who did the best work ever on the girls' 90s and early 2000s. I had to do this photo shoot. It was a boy-girl shoot, and I was dressed as Cleopatra with the Cleopatra makeup. Then he like put my hair in a bob. He gave me a little bit of weed, because I have to keep my eyes closed for like a full hour for him to do his magic, like just like that. So I needed to fall asleep. But I don't think makeup artists should be carrying drugs on the set. And, you know, from what I'm hearing from Veronica right now, is that you have to have blood work by your provider for those pills, for such pills, in order to be on them. This is dangerous. You don't know who this Awani, what was her name? Awala, whatever.
I think Zawani.
Yeah,
I forget what it was.
I don't mean
Yeah.
to be like a
No,
xenophobe, but it's not a street drug. So this girl clearly had a prescription somehow. I'm sure you could find them through the right channels, though. And you know, you're with it on a set, giving it to a girl. So now you are disrupting the set for doing something like that. You don't know who this girl is. You know,
Yeah.
why would she need it? And it seems like, okay, I'll be honest with you, an orgy in Barcelona doesn't sound like such a bad idea, but if you're down for it, that is. But it's a mood stabilizer. I get that, but she shouldn't. If someone's of not sane mind, like, they got to start screening these people. I don't know how else they can do better. And this guy sounds like a real piece of shit if he's going to push Phoenix Marie, or any girl for that matter.
Well, allegedly. Let's keep saying that word.
Allegedly.
This is why we have a court of law. This is why we have a judge and a jury, and you're judged by a jury of your peers, and we let the legal process go. The thing is that this whole society has gotten too comfortable with people thinking that a tweet or anything is the gospel, and it isn't.
Oh,
it isn't.
yeah.
It's just so really you really need to check it. But I say this: let them all have their day in court, and then we will find out what happens, what really went on that day.
You know, it's such a scary slope. You know, I'm in the middle of a lawsuit with someone that you know. Or I might have to get into that, because they slandered me on a public forum, saying all these accusations that weren't true. Paul Corbin knows who it is, and a few people that are close to the situation. But nonetheless, like, with these things, you don't know what everyone's like side effects are when you give them something. You really don't. Like, you don't know unless did she know a wall from somewhere else? No. So she should be held accountable. And I think that there has to be a better vetting process, like we once discussed, for people coming onto a set. And, you know, I'd like to know why would Pornhub be banned in Texas?
It was a law because it's trying to keep it from underage access, I think is what it is. So I think there was a law against it. And then Pornhub decided to completely shut off Pornhub from Texas. But I'll say this: fuck Pornhub. Support your local performer. Join her OnlyFans. Enough of this tube shit, because I don't trust the tube sites. I don't go on tube sites at all. None of them. I don't trust them, because it's all data harvesting anyway. They're getting all the information about you, where you're searching, what are you doing, because eventually they want to start selling you AI and an AI girlfriend. So I'm not.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
AI porn stars are coming. That's the next phase in all this. This is why I believe they bought such a beleaguered brand that has had such a one PR mess after the other over the last several years. So because they want to harvest the data, and they want to. So let's say there's a guy out there searches Pornhub. They like your type, right? Well, depending, they can create someone similar to you, and that could be the AI girlfriend or porn star. Listen, I still jerk off manually. Okay. I don't deal with this AI shit. I don't deal with any of this stuff. All right. Like, Homegrown organic masturbation is what we do here. We don't go with AI. I don't understand it. But then there's a lot of things about the younger generations I don't understand either. I mean, maybe they want AI girlfriends. Maybe they want all that. Point is, the biggest thing that would be eradicated if you start having AI porn is you're not going to have anything going wrong on sets anymore. You're not going to have a green porn star that might OD. You get that equation out of there. It doesn't even happen anymore. So if I were a porn company, I would be going full throttle into AI.
Why?
because
you don't have people talking, dude. The whole no, because dude, I'd much rather you no, because it's so impersonal. No one wants an AI girlfriend because we don't fucking talk back. We don't put shit in your drink. We don't have real life. We do not have real life interactions. Not that I'm saying it's the best with me, because I've been known. Like, I spoke to Lizzie Borden, the porn director from way back when. We're friends. She's like, you really put me through the ringer and made me grow up fast. I'm like, why? I guess this is what I was told, is when I was on set, I told Brick Majors, fuck you, you're fat. Why are you even here on set? Like, your belly is bigger than your fucking cock. Seriously. Oh, you can't get a hard cock? Like, what's your problem? Seriously.
Yeah, that'll help him get one.
What? He had to go back to the director. He's like, she's like, no, she's just flirting with you. She's like, Jasmine, be nice. I'm like, I'm being nice. It was such a like growing up thing for her. So you miss that effect of everything and the personality. I mean, don't you guys want personality when you meet the girls at a signing? I want to know from you guys. Don't you want personality?
Yeah. You're speaking like a Gen X, like me. Okay. I get it. I get what you're saying.
You're a Gen X? How old are you?
Yes. 50.
Oh.
Yeah. So the reality is that the younger generation, I don't get them. That's why I stopped shooting them having sex on camera. I mean, that was it. I have no idea what the younger generations want, but listen, I'm hearing shit that there are AI like models, literally AI models, $10,000 a month they're making on, like, it's a creation. And the person who's paying it knows full well. So I don't know what the reality is on people who are wanting AI porn, but from a liability standpoint, because I was a liability manager when I was shooting, was unless I know them and I've shot them like a dozen times, I would not have a newcomer on my set at all because it's too much liability. I mean, and that's where I think all this happened. This Zawadi, I'm sure she could be a very lovely person. We just don't know if she should be shooting porn. We just don't know. But I can imagine Danny saying to the head office, who the fuck is Zawadi? And them saying something along the lines of, it's a girl, she's got a big following. It'll really help the ebony niche. You can do it, which is what the fucking shit they said to me all the time. If I express the concern, don't worry, you'll do it. And they probably said, if anything goes sideways, we'll have your back. Which, okay, they seem to be putting their chips in Danny's corner, at least for now, if they're throwing Phoenix under the bus. So I don't know, man. It's too much risk. So I say to everyone out there who's shooting for company porn, we're not going to call it mainstream porn because that's a stupid term, but company porn, anyone out there, just be careful. Be careful because you just don't know what's going to happen. If the bomb you're holding is going to explode or not. So, I mean, mine did back in, it exploded in 2020, but the incident that happened was in 2018. And because the world started going with sugar and everyone was like, oh, I was abused on set and all this, everyone was taking it super seriously. But if you look at the footage, which I have, and I wrote about it in my book, and when you look at the sign outs, there's no indication whatsoever that there was a problem. It was a problem way after the fact, like 2 years after the fact, it was known. So that's when my bomb blew up. And when I realized that the company was starting to validate this behavior, that's when I was like, okay, out, because it too much to lose at this point in time. So, I mean, I don't know if Danny's going to recover from this. I don't know if Phoenix is going to recover from this. I mean, the whole thing is quite sad, but just goes to show that, like, nothing is certain when you get onto a porn set, even if you try really hard.
No pun intended. Yeah, I'm sure you would have been fun to work for. Yeah, I think you would have been, had we've crossed paths in that era, but you probably wouldn't have wanted to shoot me more than once. I have the right attitude, I feel. I don't know. Like, I'm thinking about all this. Do they protect the male performers against emotionally abusive women on set? Is there such a thing
No.
as being
I
emotionally
mean,
abusive?
yeah, no, I've seen it. I've seen girls be mean and nasty and diva-ish, of course, and that's the point where if that dude's dick stays hard, he's a keeper because he can get his dick hard through a battle, and that's where you're like, all right, soldier, you got through this war. Come back next week. That's what I always look for. I mean, to shoot Danny was great. He was a great performer, and I had fun with him. During AVN, we palled around a little bit, but I think at this point in time, he's. I think the reality is that because he's, from what I gather now, was married, divorced, now has a kid. People have to do this because they have to, feed the monkey. They've got to feed the family, So really, I just think it's just too big of a risk these days for anyone. And I hope everyone out there who is shooting for these companies are taking it seriously, and hopefully they don't get the stink on them because it's bound to happen to anyone now.
Yeah, I know. It's and even just being linked in with certain companies and certain people could leave that shit stain on your trousers. I thought he might have been gay at first, that he was a gay performer, but now you're telling me he's straight. Because I was really confused when I saw him. So was he? It reminds me of Peter North, who was like shooting. What do they call him? The decorator. My first scene was with Peter North. It wasn't an anal scene, just a regular scene. Dude,
Right.
when that stuff went flying all over the fucking place, I'm like, ill. This is just flat out disgusting. Like, you're gross. You're old. You're gross. You have hair
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, back in the day, I think there was some gay work in there. At least there were allegations of it, like way, way, way in the beginning. I'm sure if you just Google it, you will find images. Like, it's not really that hard to verify what I'm saying here. But yeah, I mean, that was a kind of a common thing that would happen. But I think the reality is, and usually the company would shy away for a certain time, the crossover performers. But I guess Danny's hose, his hog, was so damn big, and his ejaculate was like Old Faithful, that they're like, yeah, we'll put you under contract. So they kind of look past the gay stuff for him. And that was probably around 2013, 2014 when Danny started coming into the mix. So he's been around for them for over 10 years. But I will definitely be interested in seeing where this thing goes.
I am now. Like, now I'm more intrigued. And that girl, I mean, that's horrible. Did you just, like, she's in a gangbang before you know? Did she know that there's going to be some big orgy scene? Like, was she taking the money to prep for this? Like, what was her motivation? Were you trying to feed your family or something? Like, I don't know. The whole thing just sounds so wishy-washy. There's so many moving parts.
Yeah. Well, I think that the truth is if you're shooting for a big company like Brazzers or whatever, they're not, at this point, they're paying well. So I think sometimes, and this would happen even, 4 or 5 years ago, people would take the job because of the paycheck, not really realizing that, listen, Lori, that was nice. I lost my train of thought, damn it. Well, I guess the whole point is
you're hot. You do this to us. You make all the women think you're hot. It's disgusting.
Oh, stop it. Anyways, I don't know what my point is. What was my point? Fuck, I lost it.
Your point is that we were talking about this thing with the gangbang. Like, did she know she was doing a gangbang? Because why the fuck? Like, why are you out there doing lithium, girl? Like, did she know? Because I'm sure she had her own motivations for doing a gangbang. We all usually do.
Yeah, well, it's the money, obviously the money, and also getting the exposure on Brazzers and all that happy horse shit that people seek. I tell every performer now, I'm like, don't even fucking bother with the companies. Just build your OnlyFans. Don't even go in it, because not only just like the realities of porn and it's a kind of gross business when you really think of it in terms of the muck in which everyone swims in. It's pretty gross, and it's gotten worse. So I say, don't bother with that shit and just try to keep it clean and build your brand, and then do it for a couple of years and decide if the porn industry is for you. And if you want to, then get an agent, shoot for a company, see if you actually like it. But I think they want to. She did. She loved gangbangs. But yeah, the reality is that I think anyone that is unknown, if you're a director, I would be like, I'm going to pass on this one. But people don't pass because they want the money. and they take the risk. You know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
Risk versus reward at the end of the day.
Mhm.
I don't get how the business is now. I see some of these. What are you smoking?
It's a dab, little weed.
Oh, okay. Whatever. I see you doing that. When you sent me photos from the fish show, I was like, okay, he's not having a good time. He's gone. Do you get hit on a lot in public?
You asked me to be on this when I was on a head full of acid at the Sphere, and I'm like, yeah, my face is melting right now, but I will get back to you. But yeah, I'll do your show on Monday. Yeah, that was.
Do you get hit on a lot by women? I'm sure you do.
I don't know. I don't pay attention.
Come on. What's the slimiest pickup line? You have to have one really slimy thing.
Actually, you know what? Women really aren't that slimy. It was when I was living in West Hollywood, and I had a girlfriend down on South Beach. Men, I knew what it was like to be a woman because they look at you like you're a piece of meat, and sometimes they get very handsy, very handsy. And, you want to. Yes.
The gay guys?
Yes.
Leather people.
Wow. Yeah. I dealt with that. So the reality is like I first realized, okay, don't behave that way ever, because it's gross. But do women? I don't know. I mean, sometimes, but I just kind of shirk it off because it just depends on whether or not there's actually legit interest. And that could be our good segue into the next bit we're talking about.
Yeah,
which is dating and relationships and porn.
And even just fucking around, it's really weird. Oh, hold on. Scott has a question. He wants to know your thoughts on virtual reality, and even if it's not AI.
Well, I give kudos to the dudes that can shoot the VR stuff because they're laying on their back flat and they really can't use their hands. And I mean, these are the dudes that probably use Caverjack in their dick just so they can just stay like this the entire time. But the truth is, yeah, I mean, they're on their back the entire time. So I say, as always, hats off to the male performers, because if you can keep your dick hard without having any kind of stimulation other than what you're feeling and what you're seeing, that means you're a keeper as a male performer.
Well, there you go. I remember in 92 or 91, right at when they were starting with virtual reality, some guy asked me to shoot like a virtual reality thing. It was so weird because I wasn't on him. It was like all from POV. Mm-hmm. It was very professionally done, and I got paid very well for it. I wonder like if that's ever going to be used somewhere. And that's the thing. Like I knew I signed off on this, and it's funny when people bring up things from the past when they date me. Like I don't have dating profiles online. It's really, because then we're from a different generation, you and I, so I don't do this. And then the funniest thing ever, I was dating a nerd. Okay, this guy named Mike. And his best friend was this 500-pound guy named Chud. Never in my life have I had competition with a 500-pound man. Mm. And I forgot nerds travel in packs. He like works for EA or whatever, designing video games. And his friend's like, we're down visiting his parents. His best buddy goes back to the dad a couple weeks later. So what'd you think of her? Oh, she's great. Yeah, you know what she used to do? Oh, yeah, I used to love watching Stern all the time when she was on.
Yeah.
Needless to say, like we broke up because his best friend told him, if there's that one, that's the one. You can't be with her. It's funny how men control other penises when it involves a porn star. Do you get a lot of issues having a relationship possibly with someone because of your past? Or because you were a porn director, you're obviously around these gorgeous girls.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I detail my storied history in my book, Filthy.
Yes.
And yes, we will hold it up right here.
We love your book.
Thank you. I know it's getting, people are reading it and streaming it. It's doing its thing. I'm pretty stoked. So my story is, and I'm going to address, I spoke last week about two people that I will never engage in, one of which was my ex-fiance. Well, I know she's listening right now. So because she emailed me she emailed my lawyer who forwarded me the email, which I promptly deleted because I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't want to hear from you at all. But that whole thing with that is people have been saying to me, you kind of need to move on, stop referring to it, and all that. And I get it. But the truth is that this person, we're 14 years later, since the breakup, and she's still, coming around. And she said that she's going away in this last email, according to my lawyer. She's not going to respond anymore. But she said that like dozens of times already. So I don't believe it. And the truth is, she could very well be very apologetic of everything that she's done and all the deception and all the lies and all the bullshit that I outline in the book. But the problem is, I could read it and not be able to believe one word of it because she's a pathological liar, and she's proven it time and time again. So I don't want to hear from it anymore, and it doesn't do anything. But my penance for choosing poorly, for also allowing this bullshit relationship to go on for as long as it did, and to allow my family to be affected by it, my penance is having to deal with her flaring up. Now, she wants to like have me not talk about it, and she was freaking the fuck out before the book was published because she wanted to know what I was writing about her and this and that. Well, first of all, I never mention her real name in it at all, nor do I say where she's from. I don't really give much of a description about her. In 3 short words, not easily identifiable. Okay, so the reality is that she is freaking herself out for no fucking reason because there is no reference to her. If she was the kind of person that was screaming to whomever would listen about, I was engaged to Vic Lagina and this is what he did during all of it, and my book completely counters everything that she's probably fucking said, now she's probably freaking out, you know? But listen, her penance for putting me through the fucking 2 years of hell is that I wrote a book about it, and you have to reconcile all of this horseshit that you did. And what you should do is, just in the words of Logan Roy, fuck off. Just go away, okay? I don't want to hear from you anymore. If you respond in any way, shape, or form, that means you don't get the point, and that I'm going to continue talking about it and talking about what a horrible person you are. So which one is it? You know, but she was in porn for 6 weeks, which I wouldn't even call her a performer. I wouldn't even call her a porn star. I would call her a porn fart in the wind, which is all she was. And she wasn't even a good porn star. Terrible, terrible. I mean, she was pretty, which is why people would probably be interested. But beyond that, no place in porn. So I was in this relationship for 2.5 years. And, you know, I had to write about it because this is the relationship that you go through that you say to yourself, never again. I'm not going back to this. But, you know, I was shooting for Brazzers at that time, and everything, all the jealousy you were talking about, and being around porn stars that indicate that they want to have sex with you, and you're looking at them and they're hot, and you're like, wow, that would probably be fun. But you don't do it because you're engaged, you know? And so I was in the spirit of monogamy, I didn't cheat. When we were done and I was just trying to kick her ass to the curb towards the end, that was when I finally had sex with someone else. And it was awesome. And it was amazing. But once she was gone, this is where, so this is what I talk about in my book, because if people really want to know what it's like to date in the porn industry, one word, shit show. It depends, difficult.
Though. It depends. Okay, it's your experience. But if she were to actually start arguing about this in public with people, that would mean she's admitting she is a horrible person, you know?
Well, I think the reality is that she realizes, like, I've been having theories as to why she's so obsessed. And, well, actually, I don't have theories. My lawyer friends have theories that her life is this fucking boring and that she's got nothing else to, like, this gives her relevance. So both of them have said, stop talking about her. So I'm going to just stop talking about her. And I'm going to just say the relationships that I had after, they weren't functional really either, but at least I still talk to the relationship that happened after her. We're still good friends. We don't have sex. We don't hook up. I really want like good things for her. But, you know, it was that was like a 4.5 year relationship I had after that. And it was, well, I made mistakes on that one, and I can own those mistakes. And I'm very honest about all of those mistakes in the book. We were both doing shit, but yeah, I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy to have a relationship in porn. It wasn't for me. How was it for you?
Well, first of all, Paul wants to know what the longest friendship you've ever had in and out of porn, in and or out of the porn industry, then I'll give you my experience after. It's a very fragile one.
Well, there are people that I still talk to that I met, 17, 18 years ago when I first got to Vegas. So there are some that have stood the test of time. Phoenix was one of them. And the reason why I'm a fan of Phoenix is the end of the road of Brazzers, when it happened in 2020, Phoenix continued to try to help me, support me, have me shoot for her OnlyFans until the powers that be told her to shut it down. And then she no longer did it. That's the truth. They did to her, or they did to me what they're doing to her, because they weren't really happy with how things ended with me. I mean, it was an ugly divorce, but you're not really going to be married for 16 years and have it actually a good divorce. It's going to get a little ugly. I'll say I didn't handle things perfectly, but they could have handled things a lot better. So when I outmaneuvered them and when I outsmarted them and I took control of my studio and kind of left them hanging, it's reasonable to say that they wanted to make me pay, and they tried to, but all they did was just usher me into retirement quicker. So thank you, dumbasses.
Yeah, I never really hear anything positive. I mean, between this incident we're talking about on set with Phoenix Marie, the alleged incident, and then your experiences and other people I speak with, I don't really hear too many positive things. I've had different experiences dating people out of the business and in the business during porn and post porn. And post porn, it's like, I feel as though it's a different slope now, because even though it was so long ago, like when I hooked up with that 23-year-old, how long ago was that? It was a couple of years ago. What? I told him.
No.
Okay, I'll tell you what. So he was the tour manager for the Misfits and for Doyle. He was a really good looking kid. And I'm like, dude, you weren't even a sperm in your dad's ball sack, bitch. And was it your dad or was it your brother that was jacking off to my porn? And then you caught on to it later, right? But yeah, I mean, but I'll tell you something, like his whole fascination was like, you're not dumb to talk to. You've been places and you're not going to like change your mind in the middle of my cock being down your throat, which is true. Say he raped me, because he had a lot to lose too. But I'll say it was cute going out with him because he's dressed nicely, and I felt like I was having a talk. This is so horrible. This is like so robbing the cradle.
Go on, continue.
Yeah, okay. Then we found some woman's phone in the hotel room with these weird text messages. I'm like, of course she's having an affair, blah, 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 blah. We went this whole thing. Then we finally answered the phone when someone called. It was her church group that was meeting up for some convention in AC. I really wanted it to be like some dirty thing going on. But, while I was, post porn, it's hard because you get guys who have friends that are going to say stuff. And then you get people that don't get it. Then you get people that are fascinated. Like, it's really a slippery slope now in this day. And then when you have to explain shit to people, I shouldn't have to explain anything to anyone. I did the world's biggest gangbang part 2. Who gives a fuck? Yeah, I did something cool. It was like at the height of American shock culture where you become this catalyst of it. So what's seriously the problem? Then you get the whole thing with performance anxiety. If their dick's good enough or this or that, then it's like, dude, how about this? How about I tell you you're not good enough? Okay, how about that? Let's just do that. Okay, let me do that, because they act like these grown men that act like little bitches, like little mindless buffoons. And then, like during the business, okay, I dated this guy named Earl Slate, and he died a couple of years ago. He turned it into a murder investigation, then dragged me into it because I was hanging out with him a few weeks before. But we were just hanging out as friends. Like we went to have lunch. But then it's just like, while we're in the business, it's just then I find out that thanks West Coast millennial, the MILF genre. Then I find out that he's like, he got back on drugs. Then he's banging Shay, this little blonde girl, Shay something or another. And just, I was busy doing my own things. I couldn't give a shit. So I just got rid of him. But it was such a weird thing that he caught the guy, that Playgirl centerfold, coming up my balcony one night and to my fire escape. Cause I was creating these scenarios. Okay. And, I don't know, like, it's such a hard thing. You don't know like where those things will be. And I'll say, yeah, there's like a little bit of jealousy because, it's like, okay, yeah, you're coming home, but you're not really someone I see myself marrying or like in the long-term relationship. Dating the civilian, the drummer and Slayer, that was a weird dynamic because they don't want to bring up the elephant in the room. Huh?
Right. Well, he's also in Slayer. He's in a big band, you know.
He was a
Which
shy person, though. He was a shy
yeah,
person. He had a good
yeah.
cock, though. It was kind of
No,
skinny, but it's a good
that's
cock.
good. That's
You're
good.
like, yeah, that's great, Jasmine.
That's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
you gotta get banged somehow. But it's a weird dynamic because civilians don't get it then. And then
Mhm.
their friends start sending you the porn. Like my girlfriend Veronica, she's dating this guy or was, and then he fucking like he's getting porn videos from people, and then he's like bringing it up to her now, making her life fucking hell. So no matter how you're not deleting the past,
Yeah.
guys. You're
Yeah.
really not. But I could say
Well,
one thing, it was never psychotic shit with me. Just the guy coming up my fire escape who was the Playgirl centerfold that was 27. And then
yeah.
there's some crossover where I was dating the bass player in the Scorpions and I got bored of him during the relationship. And then I was fucking around with the Playgirl guy because I only like interesting people. The Playgirl guy was cute. He was arm candy, but I didn't know that I made him cry when I broke up with him. And Dominique Simone came onto my show. She's like, "You broke up with him and he's crying." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know he was that affected." I should try to make things work. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how old would he be now? He'd be around my age. Yeah, I don't know. What?
Was he a himbo?
You know what? He was an emotional guy. Yeah, you know the term himbo. He had the
Yeah.
perfect nose. And like I just feel as though guys get into this whole fantasy and you guys don't get the fantasies actually come to life. And I don't know. Like I would like for him to crawl up I don't have a fire escape. If he can come up 12 floors onto the building,
Right.
and I would like for him to climb back up and come into my living room. I promise I won't throw knives at you and try to stab you because I wasn't expecting you. And and see if there's something there. So it's an open invite to you, Keith Rivera, or whatever you want. It was TT Boy's brother. I can say that openly. I would honestly, like, I would give you that open invitation. I don't know if there'd be anything there, but finding love after porn is tougher than while you're in it. Because while you're in it, you're so caught up in the moment, And I think I was in the business with these traditional values of what relationships are. So I never fell in love with my coworkers, and I still thought somehow in my sick brain I could still have a normal relationship. But a gangbang really leaves a stain on you, and I don't give a fuck about that, because there's always that one person out there that gets aroused by it. I had this one guy. Oh my God, he was this big Hollywood producer. I was with him for 5 years, and he was turned on by the gangbang stuff. Like it was a long-term relationship, right? Then the only hooker we had in that relationship was this girl in a hijabi, and she stunk like Iranian truck driver BO.
Oh my God.
Like her pussy. That's what he said. I wasn't the one fucking her.
That's a lot. I mean, yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, do you think it's something like, how do you think a guy gets around this? Because you're a straight male, right?
Well, yeah. So my whole thing was before I hunkered down with the succubus, Voldemort. I was trying to date in the civilian world, and it was really one of those deals where I was more of a novelty to them, even though I wasn't a male porn star. They had so many questions about porn and this and that, and I was a novelty. They wanted to know all this stuff, but when it really came down to it, were they really interested in having a relationship? No. So the reality is that, and I tell this to people, it's like, people make bad decisions because they're lonely. And what people need to do is start getting comfortable with being alone, which, I've grown very comfortable in that because I was never going to go back to the hell that I was in when I was engaged. But that was the reason why I felt, okay, because I'm shooting porn, I'm going to have to make concessions on who I choose to be with. I don't believe that way anymore. I'm like, at this point, it's all out there, like all out there. Here it is, like literally. Here's the manual to all of it. And if someone gets through all of that and they're like, "Yeah, we're cool," then I'm like, "All right, now we can actually get somewhere." Because I don't like having lies, and I don't like having things like not being forthcoming about anything. I think lying is exhausting. Cheating is exhausting because I'll get into that in a minute. But basically, after I went through this 2.5 year hell of an engagement or a relationship, I was a single guy in porn, which was, that had like weird results that I do talk about in the book. Now, I don't talk about a lot of my sexual experiences in the book unless they go completely sideways, because that's more interesting. Like, no one wants to hear about hot sex. If they do, just watch Skinamax or read like, the Penthouse Letters or something, you know what I mean? But like, when it comes to the realities of when you're actually in these scenarios, I've had a lot of awkward exchanges where I just like, I laugh because you have to laugh at yourself and you have to laugh at the ridiculousness. But like the first girl that I hooked up with, once like the relationship was over, I mean, she made it clear while I was engaged, she wanted to have sex. And in the spirit of monogamy, I decided not to. As soon as we were broken up, she shoots for me. Do you want to stay over? Yeah. And the whole thing is that I talk about this in the book. I mean, I made a bad idea because I consumed psilocybin during this, and she did not. I shouldn't have had psilocybin mushrooms. I should have opened up a bottle of wine. Like that's why we have an inner voice now guiding us and telling us like what's the better way to go here. But I started tripping when we were having sex, and it seemed like I was having sex with a character from Lord of the Rings, and I needed help from the Fellowship to bring down this beast, and like huge boobs, and she was really pretty, but I was like, my mind was going elsewhere, and I didn't want to laugh because that would have been the kiss of death. You can't laugh when you have your penis inside someone. So, but the point is that, okay, we finally were there, but the reality is, okay, we want to fuck each other, sure. But do we have anything to say to each other? No, we do not. We have nothing in common. And this was the battle that I fought, which was, okay, you're hot. You think I'm hot. I know the sex is good because I just saw you have sex literally 4 hours ago. I know what you look like naked. I know if there's any bad odors. I know whether it's going to be good or not. I know it's going to be good. I'm certain it's going to be good. But after what do you have to say? What interesting things can you talk about? And the truth is, nothing. Like, there were categories. Okay, she's a 2 hour. Okay, fuck, gone. Then you have your 2 days where, okay, we can hang out Friday and Saturday and off you go on Sunday or whatever. And that was the norm, because I was like, okay, there's something off there and there's definitely a lot of trauma there, but she's not a horrible person and she's not psychotic. So I can coexist in my space with them. And that went for a while. And I even dated a girl. I mean, she was an extreme performer, the gangbangs, the double penetrations, all that stuff. And this was like the girl I started hanging out with on more than one occasion after I got done with my fiance. And this girl gave me a blank check for her body because she was a masochist. She said, you can do whatever you want to me. And if you're not a sadist, which I definitely am not, that's fucking intimidating. Like, what do you want to do? Like, I mean, blood was spilled during these bouts, like mine in the form of my back, hers from her vagina, because we were just going to Pound Town in the whole thing. But the whole reality was, it was just, how can you really reconcile at the end of the day? She's going to go shoot and get banged by 10 people in a bar. And how do we feel about this? Like, you have to kind of figure it out. So you sort of start putting people in a category where, okay, this is not going to go far. This is fun. The sex is good, but it's not going to go very far. There's already a time limit in all of that. So then after that one started, fading out, that's when I met, she's known in the book as Jackie, who I'm still friends with. Mm-hmm. And we started dating in May of 2011. And she was a porn star who, she made a name for herself. And she, we were hanging out and it was kind of casual. And I said, hey, why don't I get your first shoot back? Because she took a break. So I had to shoot that scene after we officially declared we're going to be a couple. So that's like, when you're having sex with someone you actually now care about to the point where you're going to have a relationship, it's weird, it's awkward. And, like, I tried to convince myself that the noises she was making as Johnny Sins, hot Johnny Sins, was pounding away. And she was making all these noises. And I had to convince myself she's not enjoying herself. It's just an act. Newsflash. She was enjoying herself. She told me this like before she published the book. I asked her about that, and she's like, Johnny Sins. And I'm like, yeah, that whole thing of it was an act, horseshit. But me and her had a good relationship for about 6 months before she started accusing me of cheating and doing all that stuff. Now, mind you, she was not really shooting a lot, but she was a stripper.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if you ask yourself, well, would a former porn star, you know, give a hand job in the VIP room? Is it plausible? Sure, it's plausible. And when she started accusing me of cheating, that's when I was like, okay, this is a red flag because she might be up to something. Well, I was right. I was 100% right. I trusted my gut on this one. I was right. So instead of doing the right thing, the honorable thing, the noble thing of being like, this shit's got to stop or we break up, I was like, considering I was in my relationship before and I was always getting accused of cheating and I wasn't doing anything. Like I passed up on a lot of sex because monogamous, right? So instead of me breaking up with her, I was like, I'm going to have my cake and eat it too. And this is when I also started my cocaine addiction. And that was when I could justify virtually anything. And, you know, knowing that she was dishing out heeges left and right, and I was doing my thing, I didn't really feel bad about it. But that relationship went for about off and on for about 4 years. And then once that was over, and I was back out as being a single dude in Portlandia, I guess I started getting a reputation of being a man whore. And I don't like that term. I like the term sexually diverse. It's a lot more proper because the truth is, like, girls would talk. You're like, oh yeah, he fucks everyone. No, I wasn't fucking everyone. I was maybe having sex with 2 to 3% of the entire porn industry. So that's not everyone. So I will dispute that claim. But yeah, I mean, I sort of found the balance between your 2 hour girl, your 2 day girl, and then you actually meet someone who you're like, oh, this could be something more here, but is it possible to function when both of us are in porn and one of them is having sex? So what I was doing was I was like, we can hang out, we can do this shit, but just know you're having sex, I'm going to be having sex as well. And it was kind of a tough pill for a lot of them to swallow. I understand the argument that performers have. It's just work, but a man's dick is inside of you, so let's keep things even. Let me go penetrate some vagina so we can keep things even here. That was my mentality. Now it's a little different. Now being away from porn for 4 years, different. I used to think monogamy was unrealistic. It was a joke. I shit on monogamy all the time. Mm-hmm. But now I'm like, I think the only way I want to be in a relationship is if it's monogamy. Because first of all, with all the gonorrhea plus that's out there, and the mycoplasma genitalium, and you got, you know, everyone's having sex with trans and people are on PrEP, and then you have to worry about whether or not people have HIV. I don't want to swim in that nuclear muck. So would I be with one person? Absolutely. At this point, yes. And I would be monogamous.
You see, this is what I'm saying. This is, I don't know. I just, okay, look, 2 things. So first and foremost, I was accusing of ex of fucking around because his ex-girlfriend was in the phone all the fucking time. Was I doing anything with God? No, I was not. I was not doing anything. And it's just like, you know, why, you know, what was the whole thing with your fucking ex who thinks she's a witch, who's like Baby Lopez of the Dodgers' daughter, who's a drug addict? Okay, guys, that is who she was. Her name is, I'll just call her Nessa. She has a major drug addiction and she cheated on this guy like twice. Okay, that's you for taking her back a second time. Bro, like, I don't know, man. Like, dude, this bitch, like, I don't know if she's cross-eyed from doing drugs or some shit, but yeah. I mean, I couldn't see what this was about. And I get it. Like, he felt bad for her. So sorry only went so far for me. And a lot of people don't know this, but it wasn't recent enough, but it was recent, like where I just started making a bigger presence of myself online. So I went out one night to the Comedy Store. This guy, Earl Skakel, who's a comic, has a a comedy and wrestling podcast, right? And this is what I do, and I don't go fucking around. Yeah, I just don't do that. If I'm with someone, I don't do that anymore.
Right.
Not that I ever really did, but then I get back. I didn't want to message him because he had to be up at 4:30 in the morning to go to work. I didn't want to like text and message. I just thought there's an unspoken rule, like, okay, I'm not doing my thing. I'm going to come back and everything's fine. I didn't want to tell him I was going to get home closer to like 11:30 instead of 10 p.m. because he was sleeping. Guy fucking gets up and starts hitting me. Can you believe that shit? So, right? I'm like, I get he has trauma, but sorry, only goes so far. Dude, his stuff was like thrown out of a high rise from 12 stories. But it's just shit like that. Like you always, somehow like Peter is always paying for Paul. And you don't know what that trigger is with someone. So I can't deal with people. Like I've set down the rule. I will not speak to someone who has to be in constant contact with an ex, especially someone did you dirty. I don't like let their other friends that they have. And if they don't, that is their problem. Right. So that's like rule number one for me. That's puts me out of the running in a normal relationship. I get it. If like you're married, you got kids, that's one thing. But this other shit that's so unnecessary. I don't need to be a part of you being friends with toxic people. And I noticed while he was friends with her, like talking to her again all the time, like every day, his behavior towards me changed. Like he wasn't as cool and as nice, but he had a pot belly anyway, like a little bit. So that's what you get for dating someone.
Pot belly.
No, Veronica. It's like, Veronica's on her. She's like, my goodness. Yeah, no, it's like, it's not a jealousy thing. It's a respect thing. Because I don't speak to like
your exes.
Yeah, I really don't. Like I speak to one from high school. He tried to take his life. I know like what happened because we were together for 2 years in high school. And he also set the precedent of how any guy should treat me. He's good looking too. I don't think I'd fuck him again though, but we're friends. Plus he did some of my tattoos. And I want nothing but the best for him because his brother killed himself when and they were close, and he doesn't speak to his family. But I know he's getting married. I'll probably go to the wedding. Fine. But in current day, I will not accept that part of a relationship. And that's really the truth. I can't deal with that. So I don't know if that's too shallow. And then plus I'm shallow. Some guy wants to know, why did Vic, why did Brazzers stop doing porn star punishment?
Yeah, I talk about this in the book, actually, Drac. The book, Filthy, The Rise and Pending Death of Vic Lagina, Amazon. It's also on Spotify, Apple Books, all of that. You're recommend
hot, by the way. I know I've said that a million times. You're fucking hot. Like, you are so hot. You're like ooze of masculinity. Masculinity is back in, guys. I have to tell you.
Thank you.
You're like a hot piece of ass. I'm glad I didn't know you when I was doing porn, because I probably would have like started hitting on you and all that other shit. You said you jack off. Just jack off into a milkshake, man, or just jack off with a cream donut. I'm telling you, these are.
Put it in a bottle and sell it.
Hey, I'll buy it. I'll go like, bleh. No.
Well, my financial advisor does say I should have some income coming in, so maybe. No, I guess. What's up?
You have income?
Of course. I mean, I've made money. Why did we stop shooting porn star punishment? Well, because we were getting into the point of compliance where the credit card companies were flagging content that wasn't compliant, where the girls looked like they were in pain or resisting or whatever. It was essentially couple steps above rape porn, but you did some compliance things to get through it. And I think they had a lot of the reality of the situation of just having bad PR, even back then when it was happening in 2019. But yeah, it was one of those hardcore scenes that, probably did very well on traffic. But they wanted to do actually darker shit even before that.
Like
a website called Shame on Her, where it looks like the girl is like completely inebriated and being gangbanged against her will and all that stuff. And I was like, no, I'm not shooting this. And I said no. I was like, I'm not going to get. I was like, this is rape. So it devolved into this thing called porn star punishment, where you get a porn star and you say, look, this is what we're doing. You're just supposed to be punished for doing something stupid, like Like maybe you washed your boyfriend's laundry with a red sock and it's all pink, and now he's going to make you pay. It was kind of like that bullshit. So reality was that's why it went away because of an image cleanse that they were trying to do. So
Yeah. I mean, these are like normal videos to me in the 90s. I mean, we were doing these things for extreme associates and stuff, like remember the Federal Five, I wasn't in any of those, but a good friend of mine was. And it sounds like a normal video to me, like what they're calling compliance now. It was a different era, but I'll be honest, like I could never lie to a guy and say I wasn't getting turned on in some of my scenes. I liked shooting with Rick Majors. It was fun, even though I was a total bitch to him. But I think people see these movies and then like, here's the thing. Then you get the guys that want to do anal with you because you're doing it in scenes. And I personally don't like, I know this is like horrible things. And that's the thing you have to deal with. Like, is some guy going to try to stick something up my ass because he saw my movies? And in that time dating Keith, that was TT Boy's brother, like that was such a sad thing where it's like, this guy was crying to me one day saying, there are times when I had bills to pay. Like one of my box covers was out in my apartment. And mind you, is at my apartment watching like that infamous pay-per-view with Tyson biting the guy's ear off. And, I paid the $40 for it, but like it's over in 3 minutes. And, he's there crying, like, you're just pushing this in my face when I see your box covers. There are times when I took you out and paid, and there were bills I had to pay, and I felt really bad. It's that part that like irks you, like you feel like you're getting the Jewish guilt. No offense, I know you're booby.
No, I'm taken. I know you're very pro-Jew and pro-Israel and pro.
Big time. I stand with this.
Oh, I know you are. I know you are.
I love Jewish men, by the way. I think they're sexy.
I appreciate. We appreciate it. This is.
I want to masturbate with a yarmulke soap. I'm joking. Okay, that's going.
Yeah. So after I got off that one relationship, I did get into one more relationship with a Dutch girl. She was a civilian.
Okay.
And she was okay with the open relationship thing. I just had a rule like, don't ask any questions you don't want the answers to. That was really it. But the truth is that she was Dutch. Yeah, she was Dutch, and she needed her green card. So part of it, I think, was she was looking to get married, and she did say to me, "Come on, we can get married. It's no big deal." And I'm like, "Okay, it's no big deal." I was like, "It's no big deal," because she was well off, very well off girl. Family had a lot of money. I go, "Well, how about this then? We can get married, but I want like 3% of your family's business." Okay. She's like, "No." I'm like, "Why not? It's no big deal." But she said no. And then she had to wind up going to Australia where she got pregnant and then had 2 kids. So we still talk though. But the point is that I made progress. Whereas 2 relationships, I want nothing to do with them and they are cut out like cancer. The last 2, I actually have good relationships, which I say is progress. Which means, no, I chose poorly in the past, but then I started to obviously choose better because these people actually, they did have at least a good core, some kind of moral compass, which was nice to see because I want to say, like, I didn't really get a lot of relationships, friends or otherwise, that really came out of porn. I can count them on one hand, but I could tell you, and I mentioned them in the book, obviously Jackie is one. And another girl, Nikki, is another. I'm so friendly with them. Nothing is going on romantically with them because, you try it and then one reason or another there isn't. But no, I'm speaking to another now that I've known for 7 years, and we're considering trying this monogamy relationship thing. We are. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I really like her. She's awesome. The problem is too, it's like when you have had a lot of sex with porn stars, these are big shoes that a civilian has to try to step in. And it's an insecurity thing that they might have. They're like, how am I going to please a guy that has been having sex with professionals for literally decades? And it's a valid point. But the truth is, it in some ways it's wrecked me, but there's also people, women on the planet that I know I have that chemistry with, and she is one of them. So we will just have to see what happens. I mean, I think we tried this out in the past, but then the pandemic hit, and she doesn't live in Vegas. Okay. So the reality is that we'll give it another go now that the whole pandemic is over. But the truth is, I was not present for her mentally, for anyone really, when I was still in porn in 2020. Like, I needed to get away from it and really write about it and really sit back and be like, okay, rewire the brain a little bit, you know, in terms of let's not normalize the insanity for that one. You know, I'm not knocking people who are in open relationships, because I've heard the pros and the cons, and it does work for some people. But I also know that the ones that I was okay with being in a non-monogamous situation, I didn't care about them. I didn't really love them, because if you do, I'm starting to realize you don't want some fucking guy's grubby hands and semen all over them. You don't. Like no, it's like, let's just enjoy ourselves and let's see if we can actually make this work. Because being mutually interested is just the first step. There's a lot more to cover when it comes to actually making a competent relationship and a functional relationship work. But I'm at the point where I'm willing to try. Now we just have to hope that the person doesn't break my heart. That's all. No pressure.
I'll beat the shit out of her.
No, I don't think you'll have to. I think the reality of the situation is that she's got a good core, and I think that the truth is everything is communication. So if you talk about it all, even if the things that are uncomfortable, but at this point, it's like, you know, I have to at least make myself emotionally available to someone, because I was pretty closed off for a while, and I credit the drugs and the alcohol and the previous trauma and all this other shit that I had to go through, that I had to work through and power through and get better on, and then cut out the drugs to the point where you actually feel and you actually want to love and actually be loved. I know it sounds so corny and so cheesy and so not a thing a man says, but when you get to a point where you're like, well, let's give it a shot. You know, let's just keep our eyes open for the warning signs, and let's not go back to the dysfunction. And I think we're both on the same page on that. So we'll have to see what happens. But
well, the is good. I like this.
John, last time you wanted a fucktard story before we went. John Jay. I talked about him last time quite a bit on your last podcast.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, he was the dude, like the other one that I won't engage in because he's a rat that called OSHA on me.
Fucking weirdo.
Motherfucker. Like,
I'm gonna cut
you're
his
a rat.
Wait, what is OSHA?
OSHA is occupational.
Oh, that
safety.
thing. Yes. I should know that. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So, and he acknowledged it, but yeah, I mean, he was just one of those dudes that got drawn into porn for the wrong reasons, to be around porn chicks, to try to get his dick sucked, to say he was a performer when he wasn't. No, dude, you're just a creepy driver who has weed. That's it. And you made it far enough because we had to get through the holidays. That's it. Because, you know, the holidays were always busy for us. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine it is. That's when people are kind of lonely too as well. But I don't know. That was, John really loves your book, by the way. I think everyone should give Vic a 5-star rating on Amazon, who's purchased the book. And if you've not purchased it yet, it's called Filthy, The Rise and Pending Fall of Vic Lagina. I think it's great you went out with a Dutch woman, because my father's side is Dutch. So that's great. Dutch people are wonderful.
Yeah. I'll say this about her. She, civilian anal unicorns exist. They do.
Civilian what? Anal unicorns?
Civilian anal unicorns exist.
I thought that's what you said, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mean, I make a case in the book that, you know, there's a lot of girls that they say that girls don't like to get facials. Girls typically don't like anal. And I completely counter that by saying there are both facial unicorns and anal unicorns, because I've been with them. I mean, you know, when you're going anal with a civilian, you know, you're risking some things here, you know, a little little nugget on your turtle, and you don't really want to deal with that. So when you actually have that with a civilian and it comes out clean as a whistle, you're pretty much congratulating the anal queen in front of you. So yeah, that happened. So she was cool. He's under my desk now, but she was the one who found Junior in LA, my dog.
Oh,
like when it came time.
What's with your desk?
Yeah, no, Junior's down there. He said hello. He wanted to say hello earlier, but we weren't on yet. Yeah, she found him. So if I look things from a universe spiritual kind of way, her purpose, besides having clean anal, was to help me find my dog that I love so much. So that's why I was with the Dutch chick at the end of the day. But we weren't meant to be together. So.
That's so weird about animals. Like if you're with someone and you get an animal together. When I got my cat when he was a baby, it was like I was with this guy at the time, the guy who was hitting me. And yeah, I mean, the cat stayed with me. He wanted to take the cat while I was kicking him out. I'm like, bitch, this lease is in my fucking name. You need to get your shit and get the fuck out. I don't give a shit. I don't care if you have to be up in 3-4 hours. And it's embarrassing to it's embarrassing to sit here as a grown person, and tell people that even in my adult life, it's like I put up with someone hitting me briefly. It wasn't the first time he laid his hands on me. The other time was when I came back at 9 p.m. I was having dinner with my friend who was pregnant. She had a baby. And then it was like our first night out after having the kid. So of course we're going to be out later. And there was never any weird promiscuous shit from my part. Like I could say that. And to get hit then and then deal with it like 2 weeks later, that's on me the second time, 100%. But it was heartbreaking for the cat because then he was gone. But I wasn't with him for that long, but I just feel really humiliated, like even telling people like this story. But anyway, so moving right along. So yeah, that's
sorry
another
to deal with that shit.
No,
Sorry
it's really embarrassing because I feel as though I settled because of my porn past. And
yeah.
That's what the therapist said. The therapist said I have other issues now because I keep posting these cat photos online like too much every day, the pussy pics as I call them.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much longer that relationship will last with the therapist because she really thinks I need more help. But I just think they're funny. They're cute. I think of the pussy pics. Come on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. By the way, we should give Veronica a shout out for she has taken steps to make her life better, and I am proud of her for doing that. So let's give her words of encouragement for her staying on the good path. Let's continue that.
Well, she just moved, she told me, and she's going to come on my other podcast soon, and I'm really excited to have her on because everyone has different stories, whether they're traumatizing, not traumatizing. Whatever they choose is their narrative, and I hate it when people take other people's narrative on podcasts because when you and I first met online like this, or you're on the show, it's like I always thank you, Veronica. I feel good about that. But it's embarrassing, though, getting beat at at my fucking age. You don't get fucking hit by a man. And the guy was older, too. And I got out of something that was emotionally, I could have Me Too'd this other person, the producer. If you want to talk emotional abuse, the sound recordings I have of this guy is it's fucking atrocious. He never hit me, never put his hands on me. But then you got to wonder what's worse, the emotional or getting punched, and I had to lie about having a black eye, which is so humiliating in real life. But I lied and said I had Botox. But so yeah, Veronica says thank you, Vic and Jasmine. Yes, no, that's good. I mean, I feel as though a lot of this thing, when we settle for less, and you should never settle for less. We're never going to get 100%, but there's certain parameters of what you can and what you don't want. Which is, I don't know. Oh, hi, Melissa. Have you shot with Melissa before? Is that a porn star?
Oh, yeah. I know her well.
So bad. Is it a good bad or is it good?
Oh, no, it's wonderful. It's the best of the best of the best. She was a Spiegler girl. And the Spiegler girls were always, at one sect of time, Spiegler girls were the best of the business. I'm not so sure that's the case today, but it was up until 2020. I know that much. And she was in for a few years. Beautiful, great performer, reliable, always showed up on time, great heart, great personality, a lot of good things. I can't say anything bad.
Well, that's wonderful. I mean, I think that's great. But Vic really encounters a lot of characters in his book called Filthy,
Mhm.
which you guys have to get. But I mean, that's my take on people outside of porn dating ex-adult film stars, especially. Just deal with it, bro. And like, if you have to go on there into the rabbit hole of my porn online, someone needs to just smash your fucking knuckles and like be
Yeah.
done with your shit. You know,
Yeah.
I get it. It's a challenge, like people trying to date us. I only know of one girl who it's working well for her, this girl, Kitty Quinn, and she has a civilian boyfriend, but I think he does OnlyFans with her now. I mean, is
Mhm.
that crossing over then? You like basically become a content. I don't know. Do you see that
I
a
don't
lot?
know. Well, yeah, I think it really proliferated during the pandemic when everyone was working with their partners, and then I think the reality was everyone saw how much money there could be. So it's a matter of, okay, can you as two people run a business? That can get dicey
Yeah.
when money's involved, and someone like really the power should be all with the woman because it's her brand. The guy holding the camera he's just a schlong that's holding the camera. Like no one cares. Like as long as the schlong is hard and functional, so the money should always be going to the woman, and it shouldn't be controlled by dudes. But there's a lot of those situations, and I hate hearing that when it happens. But women need to control their accounts and make sure that it doesn't get too incestuous, because that is the easiest way to end a relationship. Be too tied into business wise, because if it goes south, then usually the relationship goes south afterwards. So
It's a suitcase pimp, a modern day version
yeah,
of a suitcase pimp. I mean, any
yeah,
business. I was running an IV infusion company, and the singer Mario Barrett
mm-hmm,
was the owner of it, and I'm allowed to say that
mm-hmm,
because he really was. And he was in a relationship with this girl that was a homie hopper who thought she knew everything about IV infusions. But you don't hire someone as a consultant to tell you how to run a business. Then when there are people waiting to get IV infusions and drips, like sick grandmas, sick parents or something that are counting on your company, just because you have an argument doesn't mean that you don't
mm-hmm.
get on the fucking phone and order the shit to run a business. And I've
Yeah.
seen it fail in and out of businesses all the time like this. Like clearly that one was like the most toxic one. Imagine being in the wellness business, but you were such like toxic people. Isn't that weird? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. I mean,
I'm just being a bitch
I'll
now.
be honest with you. I used to be like a go-getter, entrepreneur kind of guy, but the
Yeah.
truth is, I couldn't imagine having to operate a business that relied on human workers these days.
Yeah.
Just because I think that they've killed the spirit in so many ways to the point where you just don't even want to. At least for me, I don't even want to bother trying to run a business or rely on other humans to make money, because it's just gotten worse. That's why AI is proliferating right now. It
Hang
really
on for
is.
1 second. Let's take a quick
Sure.
break, guys. Give me 1 second.
Okay. This is my pet rock for those who are interested. Huh? Huh? Huh?
As you go on to like profiling your book is to like the best
Yep.
thing. Awesome. Yes. Okay. So no, as you're saying, go ahead. Someone's saying it's a smart mark civilian. Okay, yeah. So we were talking about the whole suitcase pimp, the modern day suitcase pimp, and all that stuff.
Yeah. 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 No, the reality is that when you have these are they crossing over if they're doing POV and holding the camera? I don't know. I think if you're really going to be a performer, you got to show your face. You got to make yourself a personality. You got to create a brand. I mean, that's what every male performer or female performer should be doing right off the jump, is creating their brand if they're going to do it. My recommendation is just don't get into this business now. Like, work on your OnlyFans, work on your own platforms. Don't shoot for companies right now, because I think it's just absolutely hellish. It would be, I couldn't imagine, like, I hear stories and I just keep saying to myself, I'm so glad I'm done, because it sounds terrible. It just sounds so bad.
Yeah, I hear the nightmares, and then I hear, it's just so different now than it was back then. Yeah, when I was your age. But it's
I know.
it sounds like it's so many horror stories. I just had Ruby Lynn on not too long ago, and we're talking about
Mhm.
like testing and stuff like that. But I guess like the safety of doing this with your partner is everything's transparent as to what's going on.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
Warren
Do I have stories? No, I never shot him. Never met
Christine,
him. Um, he
Christine
was the
Mack.
one he beat up
Oh
Christy Mack,
God,
and
it's so horrible.
he's serving like 20 plus years, or maybe even longer. I think it might have been 40 years.
He could have killed
Um,
her.
yeah, no, I think he tried. It wasn't for lack of trying. But no, I never shot her, or never shot the dude. I kind of get a sense about people, and something about him seemed to be like a bad idea. You know, if you realize my job again was being a risk manager, it was always assessing and looking around and saying, what here can get me in trouble, or what can cause a problem that will end this gravy train? That was always the question that I always asked. And that's why you really have to get to know people. And even when you've got like a full-on Meshuggah who is who's making your life hell, I at times can be the crazy whisperer and just, keep people calm. We're saying everything's cool, but once they're out the door, I'm like, nope, never again. This is a bad idea. Like I was very honest with the head office all the time. I was like, this one's problematic just because it could blow up in your face eventually. Now, there was a time before social media where even when something blew up, it didn't become catastrophic like it is now. But with the advent of social media and everything else, it got to the point where a tweet can end you, or it can make your life very difficult. So that's why I always said avoid the headaches, But
Yeah,
sometimes they listened. Sometimes.
well, I get shadow banned now and again. I mean, I don't know what it was. If it was, I don't know if it was from. I post. I mean, you know where I stand with a lot of things, and a lot of people on here know that. And I made this meme of Fat Fannie Willis in Fulton County, Georgia, and.
I can only imagine. Did I see it? I didn't see it. I don't think I've seen it on your
No,
Twitter.
they took it down, but it was really fabulous, I thought. And then I just posted memes making fun of her and Letitia James, and I made a few things a friend was doing them, and we were just posting them. I thought it was cute, good fun, because they're public figures, and my friend John gets thrown off all the time, but it's like one of those things. I don't think I think you should run ads on Instagram for your book too, because a lot of people, since they're functioning online doing this thing, maybe they'll get downloads, but I personally believe in your book. And I think you should be doing a book tour.
Yeah, well, no, we're talking about all that stuff. I've talked with publicists about this. I did try to do a couple ad campaigns, and I guess because the subject matter is about porn, they're a little hesitant about putting me for.
Book Soup?
Well, I tried doing it on Spotify. I tried doing it on Amazon. So, hey, if you've got suggestions, just message me on Instagram.
Book Soup.
Let me know. Book Soup?
Book Soup.
Okay.
Veronica, Book Soup. Book Soup is the best place. They're progressive. It's a type of thing that would probably interest them. There's some coffee shops. There are coffee shops also that would have you come in, whatever, an intimate evening with Vic Lagina, whatever. I'm just throwing it out there.
I wanted to do some stand-up readings, like maybe filter through and do like lesson 3, hygiene, and just go into the whole story of prepping for a scene and having good hygiene. Because hygiene is, that's, if there's one item I'm passionate about, it's hygiene. Because I've had too many horror stories, too much PTSD.
Well, that's a civilian thing too. Sometimes with these people, like some people don't get it.
It is and it isn't. It is and it isn't.
It could be. You don't know, but it's something people should know about. I think that maybe like you need to go to like a performance art theater that holds like 40 or 50 people. I'm just saying, like the smaller theater, the more you can probably just charge to get like an intimate theater.
Yeah, or we're talking about like comedy clubs.
Not even comedy clubs. I go to performance theater because at comedy clubs, I'm telling you this, you get assholes in there sometimes, and like
hecklers, hecklers.
It's every in Hollywood, it's these comedy bars with every fucking wannabe and I call it a ma as a model actress, whatever, that are not funny. That's banging someone on the bill that night that gets onto these shows, and they might be cute, may not be cute. But I think like even in Los Feliz, Veronica, I don't know if if you're familiar with the area, but there's some small bookstore there that has some kind of weird area in the back where they have really cool readings. Jerry Stahl did something there. Um, Adderall Diaries, they did something there. So you always then you get your Q&A, but it's really the way to go at this point. And maybe a gay bookstore or something. Hi, doggy. You're like, well, you're looking at me like I'm crazy when I said a gay bookstore. But I'm just saying, like, you gotta
No, honestly,
people,
I probably do really well there.
the leather people will come out, the leather daddies, the leather people. But when you get a chance, also, guys, pick up the book "Filthy: The Rise and Pending Fall of Vic Lagina." I want to have you back on as often as I can because your stories are crazy. But I just want to keep pushing this out there more and more, and just what else we can come up with. Because I feel as though it's a great time for people to pick up a book like this. And I don't think there are many male voices in the industry that have a very well-written book, folks. And it goes to a good cause. It goes to feeding Junior.
Yes. Junior's hungry. Feed Junior. And come along for the ride. I mean, really, it's just, as I've said other times, the biggest thing I have to overcome is convincing people that a pornographer can actually write something that's engaging and literate and interesting to get through. I do know there are people that have a hard time. Like here's the barometer in all of this. Okay, if you read the first line of the prologue, that was the line. Like I knew that basically it's fuck me in my ass hard, please. That is the first line because as soon as these words left Diana Prince's lips as she was getting pile-driven rectally, I was fairly certain this was the exact moment my neighbors called the police. If you're still reading after that, you're my audience. If you're like, ugh, that's disgusting, I never had you anyway. So I've learned that that's reality, and I've had people who have bought it, and I was kind of like, I haven't heard like feedback from people. And I saw these people, like a couple over the other night at Fish, and I asked them. I said, "You Southern folk, not really hearing from a bunch of you. Was the subject matter a little too much for you?" And I kind of got the yeah. And I go, "Who?" And the dude's like, "I'm not saying." I go, "All right, I'll make them tell me themselves." Because I really want to know like what exactly was that got him over. And there was one girl, she wrote and said to me, she's like, "I was fine with everything except for when you started talking about the prolapsed anus." And I was like, fair, because I was jawed to my core when I saw my first prolapsed anus. Like I was like, is that a tongue coming out of her asshole? Like, I just don't know. It was really odd. But then the more it happened, and it probably happened a dozen times over the course of my career, it was more interesting for me to look around at my crew members who had yet to see a prolapsed asshole and watch the look of revulsion on their face. Like this is where my headspace was at a certain point where I'm like, I am so not affected by anything anymore that I just like watching other people get uncomfortable. Like on set, like when it comes to witnessing a prolapsed asshole, that was always the game. Like they're gagging, they're like throwing up in their mouths. And I'm like, yeah, this is my day. So
I'm gonna have to Google and see what that looks like before I have dinner tonight. That's usually the best time to do these things because then I'll keep my weight down because I'll probably throw up. No, I won't throw up from that. But that's interesting.
It looks like an alien tongue, just some foreshadowing.
Dude, what the fuck does an alien tongue look like? Like this is now let's see, prolapse, PROLAPSE.
I can't wait to see her look on her face.
Anus.
I still get off on this. This is fun for me.
Why are they blocking?
There it is.
But they're blocking the views. How do I?
Because it's that graphic.
No. Oh.
Yeah.
Is there a way? Okay, I don't.
There we have it. That is the look right there.
Is there a way to fix this? There has to be. That's fucking gross. Oh my god.
Well, when I told Howard Stern, I go, he's like, what usually happens after that? And I said, they usually take their finger and they shove it back up there. And he goes, okay, so if you're having a prolapsed anus just roll it up and shove it back into the
But
cannon.
why would have that? I don't even want to know. Why
Well,
would
yeah,
you have
and this is like when girls were doing a lot of anal and a lot of all that. I was like, you have to turn it down because you're going to be wearing diapers soon. Like you're going to need that thing stapled up there after a certain point.
you could have
Because
surgery?
yeah, you can have surgery. Yeah, you need to. It's not supposed to do that. You shouldn't be doing that much anal. Just stop. You know, that's what happens when you do too much anal. Like when these gay dudes I hear are talking about all the big shit they're sticking up their ass. I mean, diapers, dude. That's your future. Diapers. Your butthole is gonna fall out when you're sitting down taking a dump, and it's gonna hit the water. Like that is your reality. So tone it down. Just tone it down.
No,
Listen,
it's
listen
saying
to Vic Lagina. He knows these things.
it's saying like you could also the cause could be straining from dry stools as well. And from all the pushing and everything, it caused the weakened anal sphincter. A sphincter says what? And pelvic muscles. Can it heal itself? It does not go away on its own. Of course not. Can I push my prolapse back up? Yeah. Anyway, so it's a good thing I'm not having spaghetti because it shows the inside of this, but I was going to, but yeah.
Yeah.
DAP.
Yeah.
That's too much. And a lot of these girls in Europe has always been ahead. It's a good thing it's just hamburgers and fries tonight. I'm just glad that's what it is. And I have no intent of doing something vulgar with a fry, just so you know, to be clear. Let's do this again next month because it's fun seeing you this way. Plus, I want to see what the update is on the whole relationship as well. Give us your socials really quick, please, and your book.
At Vic Lagina on both Twitter and Instagram. And here's the book again, Filthy, The Rise and Pending Death of Vic Lagina. Go to viclagina.com as well. You can see the trailer for the book that we shot in 2021. Always to order it, Spotify, Apple Books, Amazon, whatever you want. That's how you want to consume. Choose it. All I'll say is this: probably the audiobook is the most digestible. It goes down the quickest. But if you want like art in your hands, if you want something that's put together really well, get the book as well. Because I spent a lot of time on this thing.
I feel like I'm going to send it. I feel like I want to send a copy to someone like Steve Bannon or someone like that, or someone like a Steve Bannon or like the My Pillow guy. I'm going to get one for them, especially. I'm going to.
Well, I appreciate your support, and I always welcome feedback, whether it's good or bad. As long as it's constructive and you have an intelligent opinion, I'll listen, because I know people aren't always going to like it. But if you do like it, I'd love to hear about that as well. So
okay, well, Peace out. Thanks for joining us, and have fun.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, you take care. All right,
bye.
Bye. So, guys, that was Vic Boys and Girls. Veronica is actually coming on Crazy Train podcast, so she'll be out sometime in May. But thank you so much for tuning in tonight, guys. And remember, it's a very don't do things to get a prolapsed uterus, a prolapsed anus. It looks really gross. I now regret looking at that photo because now I think I don't know if I can actually have dinner tonight properly. Anyway, don't forget, if you want to follow me on my socials, it's The Real Jasmine St. Clair on Instagram, Jasmine St. Clair on Twitter, and make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel because there are a lot of different contents coming up. And next week's guest is Marcella Alonso. I don't know if you know her, Veronica. And you want what? Don't worry, you want what, dude? Subscribe? Oh, do things for a prolapsed anus. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks. I'm glad everyone enjoyed the show. Make sure to stop by, do super likes, do all that fun stuff. And most importantly, how I do end the show is stay frosty. Bye.